We're now talking
when they say cut or take two or whatever.
We're now talking about
what's that thing called anyway?
We're now talking about the berm, the big long berm. Talking about the difference between mulch and grass.
Well, in order to do the grass, we talked about removing the mulch, and any mulch that's partially broken down. You want to get to decent soil in order to have a decent, we'll say, substrate or growing media for the grass to get going, whether we're talking sod or seed. Sod is more expensive initially than the seed, but it gives you the quick impact. In order to add color, however, that's where the plants come in, and plants would be a combination, at least in my eyes, of some evergreens, some flowering shrubs, and some perennials, and some ground cover. That way you get color year-round, but you also get variation in height, from the short little carpeted type plants to larger shrubs. The cost of that initially is going to be more than what just simply doing it in grass would be. You have X number of plants, multiply that out, and with the labor in order to install those, you've got, I guess this may be an equal, you still have to water your grass, whether it's seed or sod, but you have initial watering of the plant materials.
But then between that, comparing it to bark,
well, I don't see just bark as an option. I really don't.
Bark and shrubs or grass and
I
shrubs.
think you're right. The bark is there to hold soil, at least right now, but I don't see that as an option remaining like that. To me, that is lacking interest. You have existing trees, so what I see is if it's going to go to grass, as I mentioned earlier, that tree would stay mulched. The other three could be mulched in their own little group, and then the rest could be grass. I see that as an option. The other option I see as the entire thing mulched as it is, but then filled with plants to provide more interest and to basically fill the gap. And when I say fill the gap, I don't mean creating a big barricade. It's just simply providing interest. Now, if these two unit owners, occupants, and the whole association feel like, well, privacy would be nice, well, then we need to just consider plants that give you some bulk and some height in order to provide for that sense of separation. If that's not an issue, then it's just wide open.
Okay, but the difference between cost between putting in grass compared to putting in bark, and both of them having shrubs. Mm-hmm. Which one?
Well, then the grass is going to be cheaper in the long run, because in the short term too, you have, once again, the cost of the plants and the installation of that. That's going to exceed the
plants
I think
either way.
The labor for doing the grass. That's making one assumption too. If we're able to, or a company is able to come up the street, bring in a skid steer along here. I mean, it's wide open access to bring in a bucket loader, when I say skid steer. And then that way you can scrape and load and contour as opposed to doing it all by hand. I mean, that's going to turn out to be lengthy and costly doing it that way. But doing it by a front end loader makes it quick and easy. Long-term wise, maintenance, you already have maintenance people coming out to cut the grass. In terms of square footage, that's such a small area that maintenance-wise, that's a drop in the bucket to mow that if that were to be converted to grass. So maintenance-wise, grass is a better option.
Good.
Okay, any more questions?